Hey there everyone, my name is Samuel Johnson, and this is a Spider-Man shirt. That has nothing to do with what we're going to be discussing for today, but I figured I'd bring it up anyway as an icebreaker. So, if you have absolutely no idea who the hell I am, I don't blame you. But for those of you who are curious, I am a very, very low-grade YouTuber who, for the last few years, has made it his main shtick to do a series of very much unprofessional, no-budget vlogs, whose main priority is to discuss various shows and franchises that I myself grew up with as a kid. How the vlogs typically work is that I watch an entry into whatever show or franchise that I am discussing for that vlog series, and then after I'm done, I sit down in this here chair, and then just go on a I don't know how long video, basically going into my thoughts and opinions on on whatever I watched. Now, these videos are, like I said, they're very much unprofessional. There's no script, no notes, well, most of the time, and usually they're just off the cuff, whatever I can think of off the top of my head. So they are very much a mess. However, I have managed to trick a small number of people into thinking that what I am doing is somehow good. And so, for some reason, there are some people who do watch my videos. I don't know what's wrong with them either, but hey, I somehow got them to watch it. So hey, there's a plus there. But BTW, if you're one of those people, thank you for the viewership. I appreciate it. But the shows that I've typically looked at over the years are just stuff that I myself grew up with as a kid, or just are stuff that I want to talk about. They kind of range around various topics, though usually they have a central theme of, good versus evil, since I'm a superhero fan. I love superheroes. The first shows that I looked at were the first two Ben 10 series. After that, I shifted gears to talking about Danny Phantom. Then I did a vlog series on the MCU films, which are still technically ongoing, as those films are still coming out. I looked at Code Lyoko. I went back to Ben 10 briefly to look at crossovers. I did a vlog on a very short-lived Spider-Man series that was on MTV. Then I did a vlog on Steven Universe. And just recently, I wrapped up a vlog series on Xiaolin Showdown, with taking a brief detour to do a vlog series on all the episodes of Ben 10 Omniverse to feature Ben 23. Point is, I've covered a lot of shit. I even do seasonal vlogs on the side that I do around every Halloween and Christmas, plus some MCU adjacent vlogs. Point is, I talk about a lot of shit. But for today's vlog series, I'm going to be talking about a cultural phenomenon that's, well, if you are not a fan of, I'm most likely sure that you have at least heard of once or twice. And of course, if you haven't read the title of the video, that franchise is, of course, Pokémon. Now, Pokémon is a media franchise that was created by Nintendo and Game Freak. The premise of the franchise is that it takes place in a world where animals are replaced by these incredibly powerful creatures known as Pokémon. Now, for the most part, Pokémon are, like I said, they're just animals. They live their lives, they go about doing their own thing, and sometimes they're even taken on as pets by people. Sometimes they live side by side with regular average people, helping out around the house, or just being constant companions. It's sweet, and I love it. But in the Pokemon world, there are a subset of people who can, well, train Pokemon. They're Pokemon trainers. Yeah, no, it says so on the tin. And how they typically do that is that they capture Pokemon, these little tiny balls called, well, Pokeballs, and they just train their Pokemon to become better, improve their moves, and basically just become stronger in their own way. And side by side, these trainers take their Pokemon and go out into the world, exploring, challenging gym leaders until they eventually can prove themselves to be the best of the best. Of course, the series actually got its start from two video games that were on the Game Boy, Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue, or Pokemon Green for anyone that's from Japan. Ultimately, the main gimmick of them was basically that they were collectathon games. The main catchphrase of the Pokemon series is "Gotta catch 'em all," and trust me, you're never gonna catch 'em all. They make more Pokemon with every game, and I promise you, if you wanted to catch them all, you would be here for a while. But regardless, the Pokemon franchise is a very popular one. It's been around since I was a kid, and it is one that even I have been interested in, if just because I love the premise of capturing these cute, tiny, adorable, and sometimes threatening animals, and basically having them fight for your own amusement using these flashy superpowers and moves that they couldn't possibly do. On top of that, there are some heartwarming aspects because, yeah, even though Pokemon look terrifying, there are plenty of cute ones that you just want to cuddle and squish and just love, and even the ones that are threatening can become your best friends if you treat them right, like, any good pet. And so, of course, as a kid, I was all over that shit. And of course, when a game or a series is popular, it typically gets a show made of it. Which brings us to the Pokémon anime. Now, I have been a fan of the Pokémon anime since I was a kid, but I didn't keep up with it as much as other people. Don't get me wrong, I did watch it when it was on the air, and for the most part, I do remember liking it. But I didn't stick with the anime as much as other people did. While I would occasionally follow a certain story arc that was going on in the show, I admit I didn't keep up with it as much as other people would. I was still interested, don't get me wrong. I like seeing I like watching it, and it was cool seeing the different stories and seeing where the main characters would go, but at the same time, I had a very short attention span as a kid, and ultimately, sometimes if we had an ongoing story, my mind would just turn off and go, when is this going to be over? So, yeah, there were times when I checked out. But even I can't deny how popular the anime is. Although, like many people, I do understand that the anime went on for way too long because, well, the main character of the anime tended to take his sweet, sweet time in trying to actually get anywhere. For those curious, the main character of the Pokemon anime was a boy by the name of Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town, which was the starter town in the first Pokemon games. His main goal was to basically become the best of the best, prove himself as the Pokemon champion in the Pokemon League, and basically rise up the ranks and basically be a Pokemon master. However, as you do with an ongoing franchise like Pokemon, the story continued to be expanded. Hold on one second. Sorry about that dog stuff. But, yeah, like I said, the Pokemon franchise would continue expanding as more games came out. And, of course, the anime tried its best to keep up with those games, which means, time and again, Ash would almost reach the plateau of becoming a champion, and every single time he would end up faltering just before reaching the top. Again, hold on one second. Again, sorry about that. My dog came back into the room. Point is, to try and keep the show going on and on, Ash would constantly be kind of halted at the finish line just before becoming a Pokemon Master, and thus he would go off to some other new region of the Pokemon world, train with whatever new Pokemon were there, meet a new cast of characters that would help him along the way, and from there the story would just keep going on and on and on and on, to the point where many fans were wondering, when the hell is this kid going to become a champion? Which he actually did in the last few years. The time that I'm doing this video, the anime is kind of over. Kind of. I've heard talk that there probably is going to be more after this, and there probably is, and I just don't know about it, and there are more Pokemon stuff that's being released, as this franchise is not dead with the anime. But my point is, for the longest time, Ash's journey just never seemed to have an end. But, regardless of whether you think the anime needed to end sooner rather than later, it was still popular, and no matter which generation you grew up in, you were most likely familiar with the anime in some way, shape, or form, and you could probably list a few episodes here and there that probably grabbed your attention. Which is what brings us to the topic of today's vlog series, because you see, when a franchise is good enough, and an anime manages to cultivate just enough attention from the right viewers, well, some executive up there thinks, hey, we can make a movie off this shit. And Pokemon does indeed have its fair share of movies. There are a lot of Pokemon movies. Typically how these things go is that every season of Pokemon in one way, shape, or form typically has a movie associated with it. Now, I'm not going to go on record and say that every season of Pokemon has it. I think. Don't quote me on that. I don't know as much. But ultimately, the Pokemon franchise has gotten a lot of movies over its long runtime. And regardless of whether you keep up with the anime or not, the movies, in my opinion, are very interesting looks into the franchise. I mean, well, okay, they're not like in-depth stuff most of the time, but they can cover some very interesting topics, and there can be some genuinely good character drama in there if you know which movies to look. Which is what brings me to the topic, which is what brings me to this vlog in and of itself. While I may not have kept up with the anime as much as I would have liked to as a kid, the movies are always things that I do want to check out. They always are bigger budget, feel larger, and genuinely feel like great projects that would have had more time and love and energy into them. And whether you keep up with the franchise or not, I do think that they're films that you can check out. So naturally, as an obsessive nerd, I decided I wanted to collect all of the animated Pokemon movies, which I did. I own them all. I have them all in my own little collection, and I have watched them all and have formed various opinions on each and every one. So I want to share those opinions with all of you. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't a captive audience yet, because but I do want to talk about these films. After all, the Pokemon films are very interesting, and I think that they're worth discussing, so I just decided why not make them my new vlog. So here we are. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to be starting my new vlog series on the Pokemon movies. Now, I want to make something incredibly clear. I am not going to be looking at every Pokemon movie. Don't misunderstand. I'm going to be looking at the big stuff, the ones that are unanimously considered by everyone to be tried and true Pokemon movies. But I am not going to be looking at stuff like, say, the specials that were released as part of the anime, or the side stories. I'm not going to be looking at that Mewtwo Return special. I'm not going to be looking at any other home video release. I'm not going to be looking at any special episodes of the anime that were advertised as movies. I'm going to be looking at every film that was actually showcased in theaters, whether in America or in Japan. I am just going to be, if it was shown in theaters, that's what I consider a Pokemon movie. So if you were hoping that I would look at any of those specials, I'm sorry to disappoint you. On top of that, I do want to make something abundant. I'm also not going to, on top of that, I'm not going to be looking at the shorts that accompany the movies. I'm going to be talking about exclusively the movies. So if you want me to talk about those specials where the Pokemon are like playing in a park or something, I'm sorry to say those are not getting any attention on this vlog, or not getting any attention in these vlogs. So if you were looking forward to those, I'm sorry. And on top, which also brings me to another thing, I am going to be looking at these movies exclusively from the English dub. While there may be moments here and there where I do compare the English dub to the original Japanese dub, as obviously with localization and of course some executives being squeamish, some things were changed between versions. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be looking exclusively at the English dub. Those are the versions that I grew up with and many other people grew up with. So those are the versions that I'm going to be judging on their own merits alone. So whether they pass or fail is completely up to whatever the hell the translators decided to give us. So again, apologies. And which also brings me to the final note. Like I said, I'm going to be looking at every Pokemon movie that got a theatrical release, which means, yes, I will eventually be doing a vlog on Pokemon Detective Pikachu. I'm not going to be doing it as part of the animated vlogs. I'm going to save it as for the final video of these vlogs, but rest assured, I am giving that movie a look-see because, quite frankly, why the hell not? It's fun. I like the movie, so why not give it a look-see? But with all that said, if I haven't scared you away with my mad, inane ramblings, then I hope that you join me for this little journey as we take a dive into the world of Pokemon with a little vlog series that I like to call the Pokemon Film Perspectives. And to kick things off later today, we're going to be taking a look at the very first Pokemon movie to be released as part of the anime, Pokemon, the first movie, aka Mewtwo Strikes Back.